Hello, and welcome to Our Power is Within, a weekly podcast where you will hear inspiring testimonials by everyday people who have healed their bodies and minds of chronic pain, illness, and dis-ease. Learn about different modalities for neurohacking, rewiring your brain, upgrading your mind, and healing your body so that you can take your power back. I'm your host, Chasmith Newton, but you can just call me Chaz. All right, guys, I'm excited and nervous to bring you my very first interview today. Please bear with me as I navigate the world of podcasting, technology, editing, and more. It is far from perfect, but I can promise it will continue to get better. I will learn as I go, and I will remember that the most important part is the heartfelt stories from these beautiful people and the inspiration they provide. My apologies in advance on this particular episode. I noticed some echo, but it was too late to edit out at that point. So, again, just bear with me. I feel this is all a part of my own healing journey, remembering that I don't need perfection, I need progress along the way. With that said, my guest today is Kaelly Farnham out of California. She's a personal, dear friend of mine. She has a really fun story, and we discuss a little bit about life pre-healing, her healing journey, and her mindset post-healing, and the positive impact this whole experience has brought her. I'm also forever grateful to Kaelly because she is the one who first referred me to the DNRS program, which I attribute to being a huge catalyst for changing my life from the inside out. And for those of you who aren't familiar with DNRS, it stands for Dynamic Neural Retraining System, which is a brain retraining system designed by Annie Hopper, who is brilliant. You will hear us referencing DNRS throughout the interview, so I wanted to give you a quick overview as to what it is from my perspective and experience of it. The success of this system is highly dependent on following 5 daily pillars, including something we call rounds, which I like to think of as a self-guided visualization as well as talking out loud to my brain. If you want to look into this further, I will leave the link in the show notes for the DNRS website, and you can reach out to me anytime. Be on the lookout in future episodes where I will go into more depth about this program and my experience with it. But for now, without further ado, I would love to welcome Kaelly to the show. Kaelly, hello, my dear.
Hi.
Hey, I am so excited to have you on this show today, especially as my very first interviewee for my podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome. And tell me something that's going well for you today.
Ooh, what's going well for me today? Let's see. I got a good workout in this morning out on my back porch. That was really good. I made some delicious lunch, Brussels sprouts, and I cooked them like perfectly, so I'm pretty proud of that. And I got a sip of my husband's cold brew today, which was really good. Those are my good things today.
I think those are all fantastic things. Sounds like a good day. So, Kaelly, I know that you and I have recently had a chance to catch up and talk about just the last 9 months and how they've been for you through the dynamic neural retraining system. But for our listeners out there, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about life before DNRS, in terms of symptoms, challenges. What methods did you try for healing, and what was your mindset like?
Oh my. Yes. So it started about 5 years ago, and it slowly progressed worse and worse. And when I was at my worst was about a year ago, and I had just mentally lost all hope. My body was slowly just sort of falling apart. I Just so many things were going wrong. I don't even know where to start. Brain fog all day long, joint pain in my knees. My hands had been in braces. They were a lot of joint pain in my elbows and my wrists. I just had so much trouble with energy. I was fatigued. I wasn't sleeping well. I was just not living a normal life. I was living a life of chronic illness, counting what we called energy units every day. And I felt like I used up the energy units to shower or to have a conversation with somebody. And by mid afternoon, if I had done, 5 or 6 things similar to that, making lunch, for example, they would have used up all of my energy, and I would have been just struck with a migraine or a headache and just in bed for the rest of the day.
Wow. Wow, that must have been really tough.
Yeah, it's hard to even think back to that time now, but yes, it was very hopeless.
I know that feeling. And so, what did you do in terms of trying to find ways to heal? Like, did you go to doctors, alternative medicine? What kind of treatment did you take on or experiment with or explore in this journey of the 5 years?
Yeah, yeah, throughout the 5 years, I had been to 12 different doctors. Started
Wow.
with the traditional route of just going to gastro doctors and my general practice doctor and some endocrinologists, and wasn't really getting the answers there. And so then I went into the alternative medicine route and was meeting with different uh, practitioners. Um, what are they called? NPs?
Functional medicine?
Yeah, functional medicine. Yeah. Doctors, and kind of going down that route, and seeing improvements. I feel like each doctor helped me a little bit, gave me a different perspective, had something to say. But at the end of this 12 doctor journey, I still was, in bed and not able to function.
Right. I mean, well, like you said earlier, you went from about a 5 year progression where by the last year you were even at your worst, 12 doctors in.
Yes, yes.
And and how did that feel on your mind, on your mindset? I know that you had lost hope, but what was that the mental experience like of going to a doctor and getting your hopes up only to be let down over and over again?
Yeah, I guess I just thought I would just have to keep finding new doctors. Each doctor gave me
Mhm.
something that maybe provided temporary relief or worked on one aspect of it, and so I just felt like I was going to have to keep looking for doctors.
And then so you're in this last year, you've gone to 12 doctors, and then what happens? What leads you to this dynamic neural retraining system? How did you find it, or how did it find you?
Yeah, my last doctor had said, "Hey, Kaylee, we've kind of exhausted all of my treatments and protocols, and I would recommend that, you go to this, look up this DNRS," and hadn't heard of it. And he maybe mentioned it a couple times over the year that I had worked with him. And I remember that last appointment when he was like, "Yeah, this is pretty much it. Like, I've got nothing else for you." And I'm like, I'm 25. He would have us rank how we felt, like 100% would be normal. And I was like, "Well, I'm at 25% of what I feel like a normal life is, and you're just gonna let me go." And I thought, well, why not look into this? And so I went home and I went to the website for DNRS and I started watching the people's stories. And I think that was just so powerful watching these recovery stories. These people were just like me in the same position and they had healed. And I was so skeptical, but there was a seminar coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it was like really soon. And I looked at my husband and I was like, well, what do we have to lose? Like we're not making progress. I'm not sure what doctor to go to next. Like what could we lose by going and
Hmm.
trying this out?
And did you go alone or did your husband go with you?
Yep, he came with me.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. What a support system. He actually came and participated, or he just came with you on the travels?
Yeah, so he just came with me on the travel and he could stay with me in the hotel room. Um, and so I got to see him every night after the seminar, but I was the only one attending.
Very cool. So tell us what the seminar was actually like.
Yeah, I was so skeptical. I'm an engineer. I'm very analytical. I think of things very logically, and so this was a stretch. This seemed a little bit out there, a little bit alternative for me. And so I wanted my husband to go and experience it, even though he wasn't attending the seminar. And the first day, I can't even describe. We did a couple of exercises, and I think the biggest thing I realized was just we did this exercise and I could feel my arms relaxing. That was where I was experiencing a lot of pain at the time, and I could just feel something relax and almost like a glowing from my elbows like down to my fingers. And I was just in such disbelief because it was just using my mind, and they were teaching us these techniques, and I felt immediate physical symptom change.
That is amazing. And probably, I mean, mind blowing, especially after trying all these medical procedures and supplements and medicines and all this other treatment and not to have any results. And then you're just using the power of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I had been to physical therapy and hand therapy and occupational therapy for my arms and all these, and I had all these little tools, finger stretchers and massagers and all these things. And I even brought them up to Canada with me because I used them daily. And I, when I was there, I threw them all away because I was like, I don't need these anymore. These aren't helping me. Like, they're not helping me right now. And, and I was just blown away by that small little thing, and that gave me hope in the whole program.
Mhm. So you had some hesitancy when you were looking the program up and you were a little bit concerned, but you went anyways, and it was that moment that gave you the hope and that changed your perspective about the program.
Yeah, it gave me the hope, but I was still wasn't like convinced or like suddenly this woo-woo person. Um, I was still skeptical, like why would this work for me? But I'm hurting in so many areas, but I was willing to give it a try. And at DNRS, they say that you need to make a 6-month commitment. And
Mhm.
I had paid so much money to go to that seminar in Canada. I decided that I owe it to my husband and me to do it faithfully for 6 months and see how far it'll take me. Never did I think that it would heal me 100%.
Mhm. So it's so funny though. You still were a little on the fence, but you were over the fence just enough to throw all those tools away.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Because I thought, okay, well, it'll help my arms, but it won't help my digestion, and it won't help my sleep, and it won't help my chronic pain and my brain fog. I thought, okay, well, maybe it'll help my arms, but that's about it.
Mhm. Oh, okay, okay. You saw a little like light at the end of the tunnel and only
Hmm.
attribute it to the thing you actually felt a difference in the moment.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that you started this program, you were committed, skeptical, but committed for the 6 months without knowing what you know today, without even thinking that you could get to 100% healing, as you said, or recovered. So you would consider that you're 100% recovered today.
Yes. Yes.
Yay, I love this, Kaelly. I'm so excited for you. I really am. And I was actually wondering if you could talk to the listeners about what 100% today actually feels like compared to what you would have thought 100% felt like when this all started.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, before I got sick, I was a pretty serious cyclist and competing in races all over the country. And so on my scale of things, 100% was a super athlete. Also a 20-year-old super athlete, and I'm a lot older now. Um, but I say that I'm 100% recovered, not because I can go and do those bike races again, but because I'm living a full and vibrant life. I'm able to exercise every day, not going for 3 hour bike rides, but still exercising in a good amount in moderation. Um, I'm 100% because I'm able to eat any foods that I want to. I wake up feeling refreshed. I have enough energy to work an engineering job and make it through the whole day, and it's those things that I feel like I'm 100%. I could probably go do a long bike ride, but I've just realized and grown throughout this journey and realized that that's not what I need to be doing right now.
Hmm. So, would you say that in this journey that began with a focus and intent on healing physical symptoms, in a sense, do you feel like there was mental shifts along the way and a shift in priorities? And just, tell me about that part.
Yes, a huge shift in priorities. As a professional athlete, you really have to be focused on yourself and your physical health, and almost to the detriment of relationships, of family, of friends. You're really self-focused and greedy, and honestly, that's how you succeed. And throughout this journey, I've just really been humbled and realized that I hurt a lot of friends and family by doing that, and that those relationships actually matter more than the cycling did. And so throughout this journey, I'm now able to enjoy the time spending with my family and my friends more than I ever did before.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's exactly my experience, is just learning that as time went on, my priorities really shifted also. And I feel like it has a lot to do with us really tapping into what's authentic and real for us and aligning to our truth.
Mhm.
Maybe where before we had just different priorities because of different belief systems or different, internal struggles or needs, or, yeah, like needs we were fulfilling that maybe as we grew through this experience, we didn't need them anymore. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Mhm.
So that's really beautiful. And how has that impacted the relationship you have in your family? Like, have they noticed a difference, and do they have any input regarding the changes and the shifts?
Yeah, I don't know what they would say. I haven't really asked them. But how I've really noticed a shift is my attitude when I'm spending time with them. So
Hmm.
for example, what that means is like not anxiety to go over there and realize, oh, what they might be cooking might not be the healthiest thing for me to eat tomorrow for a huge bike race. Before that would be something that I thought about and would produce anxiety. And now it's just, oh, I can go over and hang out with my family and it'll be fine. And the food is not a big deal anymore. Or staying up late talking to a friend, I would have been worried, "Oh, I'm spending time with this friend, but it's taking away from my precious hours of sleep, and I need to recover and I need to sleep." And I would have anxiety or be grumpy that this friend was needing me. And now I can just turn that around and enjoy that conversation with that friend who needs me late at night and not have the anxiety about it.
Hmm. That sounds like freedom.
Yes.
Sounds like a good place to be. So, yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Um, Something I wanted to ask you for the listeners is, what were your biggest challenges along the way in this commitment with the program?
Hmm. So DNRS requires an hour a day of talking to yourself in a visualization practice. And that's hard. That's just the biggest challenge is doing it, getting that time to make yourself do it for an hour a day.
Mhm. And what would you say really helped you honor that commitment? What helped you commit to that discipline and show up for yourself every day?
I mean, honestly, when you invest a lot of money up front, you feel such a debt. People always talk about that, but it's so true. I think that was really motivating. I didn't want to waste all that money, and I wanted to give myself the best chance I could.
Mhm.
Besides that, I had a good support with my husband. He would ask me at the end of every day, did you do all your rounds? Did you do it all? And if I didn't, then he would like make me go to the bedroom and do it right then. And he would say, "Well," and I'd be like, "Well, I got to make dinner and I got to clean up." And he'd be like, "Nope, you go do your rounds. I'll make dinner, I'll clean up."
Wow, he wins. He wins husband of the year. That's amazing. I know that everyone wouldn't, necessarily have that support, but I would say it would be good for them to even find an accountability buddy then, and maybe a friend who could hold them to that. That's beautiful.
Yes. Yep.
Um, so I guess I wanted to also ask what your biggest takeaways are. I know we've talked a little bit about how your priorities have shifted and how your 100% today doesn't look the way you thought it would, and your mindset. But what do you think the biggest takeaways were over the last 9 months?
I'm blown away about the power of the mind. Even I was skeptical even when I started it, and it still worked because the mind is that powerful. And so that was amazing to me. Another takeaway, which also could have been a challenge, was so the mind is powerful, but then also the way that we talk is powerful. And the way we talk to ourselves is our mental game, but the way we talk to others really matters as well. So for example, DNRS asks you to not talk about symptoms with other people because that brings your focus to those symptoms and kind of continues that negative thought process. And that was very difficult for my husband and I to do at first. We realized that my sickness was all we ever talked about because he was a caring husband. He wanted to know, "Hey, sweetie, how are you feeling?" And most of the time was pretty bad. And so I would elaborate, "Oh, it's pretty bad. And let me tell you all the details about how I'm hurting." And by the end, that was all we were talking about because that was all my life was. And so DNRS asked, don't talk about that. So when we got back from the seminar, we'd be eating dinner and we would have nothing to say to each other. We had just been talking about symptoms and illness for so long. We we had to just find new things to talk about. And it was a struggle for a couple of weeks. But then freeing because we were talking about our hopes and our dreams and moving forward and just other things, and those were lifting my spirits slowly. And so, just a takeaway is how much you're almost writing your story when you call a friend and tell them how you're doing. You can choose to focus on different things and the power of what you choose to focus on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember you telling me that story now, months ago in the beginning when you started this journey. And it's so beautiful. It almost like redefines your relationship together.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And he notices too, right?
Oh, huge. Like I said, my family doesn't notice, but it's that person who lives with you who notices. Um,
Mhm.
they're the person who, I mean, he was my caretaker. And so now being able to be just husband and wife again is a totally new relationship.
Yeah. Wow. So it's, again, just to emphasize this for the listeners, this is something that you started for physical symptoms. And it really, to me, sounds like it it helped you so far beyond the physical realm and really helped kind of transform so much of your life and your relationships, your mindset, how you think, how you communicate.
Yes. I mean, one thing that we didn't talk about, but I think is important is a week after I went to the seminar, I got pregnant. And that was not something I was trying to do. I had given up. I was so sick that I thought I would never be able to get pregnant, and didn't even know that I was pregnant actually for about 6 weeks. Um, and it's just amazing that by going to this seminar and really relaxing and tapping into that, my body was able to just click into a good groove and miraculously get pregnant. Um, and I had a super healthy pregnancy, and that has just been such a joy and a testament to DNRS.
Yeah, now you have a healthy baby boy.
Yep, Isaac is 9 months old.
And Isaac is your version of laughter yoga, right?
Yes.
Providing that constant laughter and joy in your life.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You could talk about, I probably laughed one, maybe zero times a day at my worst. And now with Isaac, I mean, it's so easy. I'm probably laughing 100 times a day.
That's so amazing. And someday you get to tell him this story.
Yep.
So there was something I wanted to backtrack on. And you were talking about how even through your skepticism, that you basically learned how powerful our minds are. And that even with skepticism, you were able to heal through the power of your mind. So I'm curious that in this experience, do you also feel that if the mind is powerful enough to heal us, that the mind can make us sick? Like, have you ever thought about what led you down that roller coaster of symptoms?
Yes. And I would say it's half the mind and half physical symptoms.
When you say half the mind and half physical, you mean you think things happen physically that kind of were a catalyst towards certain symptoms, and then part of it was the mind
Yes.
that exasperated it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that kept me from healing and kept me getting worse.
Okay, yes, it kept you from healing and then exasperated the
Mhm.
problems. Yeah, and isn't that so amazing that even though you felt like some of your symptoms started from a physical standpoint, that you were still able to heal them with the mind?
Yes. And it happened slowly. The limitations came on slowly. The mind works slowly. It's not that like one day all of a sudden you're super sick and it was your mind's fault. It
Mhm.
happens over those 5 years where you just keep replaying these loops and keep telling yourself things, and that's how you get sicker and sicker slowly from the mind. And then it's the same way that DNRS taught me how to reverse those, and it wasn't immediate healing. Although I would say 6 months is so fast in the scheme of healing. I had done protocols that lasted years. So 6 months is actually quite short. But again, it takes that dedicated practice over days, and it's small changes that you might not notice from day to day, but they add up.
Yeah. That's interesting. So do you feel like there was some point within the 6 to 9 months where you had this aha moment where you suddenly realized, "Oh my gosh, I feel better. This is working."
Yes, about 3 months in.
What was there anything specific that made it stand out or become present in your mind?
Well, I guess to back up, I was probably 2 months in when I found out I was pregnant. So that was kind of an aha. Like, whoa, my body's working now. It's healthy enough to have a baby. That was pretty amazing. And then I think the biggest thing is like when you're going to bed and you're just sort of like thinking through your day. And
Mhm.
probably around 3 months, I would just like lay in bed and I would be like, oh, wow, I didn't think about my symptoms today. Like I made it through the day without calculating my energy units or scheming on how to save something so that I could have enough energy for the evening. And that you don't realize until you sort of don't don't do it anymore, and I think that was kind of what happened at 3 months, was a realization that I wasn't focused on the symptoms.
Wow, that's huge. I love those aha moments where you're just, "Oh my god, I didn't do that today," or "I did this. Oh my gosh." And do you just give yourself that moment of pride where you just, you know, fill yourself up and acknowledge that effort you've put in?
Yes. But it's hard because then you're thinking about it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I love this conversation. I love everything you've shared today. This has been awesome. I actually learned things today that I didn't even know from our previous chats. So thank you so much. And I honestly feel like you've shared so many wonderful things for the listeners to really help support and inspire them on their journey. My last question that I wanted to ask you is if you had one message for the listeners who maybe have been sick and dealing with their own chronic pain and or illness and they're thinking about what their next steps are, what would you say?
Yeah, I've been there and it's so tough and it feels so bleak, but I would reach out to a community, a program, get some accountability, and just try it. Even if you don't quite believe in it, I think that there's still value of healing, a value of learning, and I think that there is a program out there for everybody. So if DNRS isn't quite it, I would keep searching, keep talking to people, keep asking, and find a program that that will work because I believe that there's one out there for everybody.
And when you say program, you're really referring to a program that helps support our ability to um, basically leverage our mind.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. I think that's an important message that people really need to hear, probably now more than ever. Um, any last final comments or any questions for me?
Nope, this was great.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you being here. I'm so excited that of all the people in the world that get to be my first interview, it was you, since how you're the one who introduced me and brought me into the world of DNRS. I'm forever grateful for that. And I thank you again for your time today.
Thanks, Jazz.
All right, guys, there we have it. First interview with Kaelly Farnham. Thank you again for being here on this healing journey with me and tuning in weekly to be inspired. If this message resonates with you, I ask that you download, rate, and review to help me get this message out as far and wide as possible, because I think it's an important message for people out there to hear. And if you have a friend who could benefit from the story shared today, then perhaps you can text them right now and send a link today. Until next time, make this week great.